All right, I'd like to bring the Tuesday, September 6th, 2022 Township meeting agenda to order. Please rise for the flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law by posting a notice of this meeting on the bulletin board in the municipal building and by faxing notice of the meeting to the Atlantic City Press, Star Ledger, Camden Courier, and Atlantic County Record on January the 7th, 2022. Mr. Cheek?
Here.
Ms. Hopkins?
Here.
Mrs. Link?
Here.
Mr. Vitale?
Here.
Mayor Kane?
Here. At this point, I'd ask you to join me for a moment of silence for private reflection, please. All right, next we'll move on to, we're going to switch it up a little bit. We have a guest presentation here from Trophy Park, but we're going to do a proclamation for the Hamilton Flying Knights track and field team first. Mr. Laws, would you and your team like to come up? Coaches? Right up here, right up front.
All of them up. Yeah, bring them all up.
Hey, that's a cheerleader.
All right, I'll begin. Lisa left me a couple notes. First of all, she just wanted to make sure that we understand what the Amateur Athletic Union is. The AAU, which Bobby's team is a member of, has set the standard for amateur sports in the United States with one goal in mind: sports for all forever. The AAU is dedicated exclusively to the promotion and development of amateur sports and physical fitness programs. More than 15,000 athletes compete annually in the AAU Junior Olympics held this year on July 31st to August 6th, 2022 in Greensboro, North Carolina. She's got a pretty impressive list of credentials here. Yeah. So at that event, Yamina Carrington, Aya Laws, Arizona Kia, and Destiny Stewart in the 8 and under 4x100 meter relay, the girls won their regional competition.
Who might that be? Who is that?
I was just going to say,
Raise your hand.
You
All right.
go, girls. Congratulations.
and Yamina also earned regional titles in the 100 and the 400 meter. Fantastic. Naomi Laws, 9, forgive me. She was district and regional champion in the 200 at the second year in a row, and took the regional title. She also qualified for the nationals in the 400.
All right.
Arizona Kia 8 qualified for the nationals in the 100 and the 200. Cadence McClellan, 10, made nationals in the 100 and 200. Brianna Groet, 13, was district and regional champion in the long jump. She also qualified for the nationals in the 100. Jalissa Derry, 11, was district and regional champs in the 1500 and 3000. She also won the 800 champion. Wow. Jalissa earned 2 medals and All-American status at the Junior Olympics. She was second among 73 runners in 1500 and third among 37 in the 3000. She also finished 9th in the field of 98 runners out of 800.
That's impressive, ladies. Very good.
We're going to honor them today with a proclamation. And that proclamation says, whereas the Hamilton Knights flying track and field team is comprised of residents of the Township of Hamilton, surrounding communities who are between the ages of 8 and 14, and whereas during the course of the season, the Hamilton Flying Knights, they won or placed highly in several district, regional, and national events, earning the right to compete in this prestigious AAU Junior Olympics in Greensboro, North Carolina, held July 31st to August 6th, 2022. Now therefore, we, the Township of Committee of the Township of Hamilton, County of Atlantic, State of New Jersey, on this day, September 6th, 2022, do hereby recognize the Hamilton Flying Knights track and field team. In honor of their remarkable accomplishment, this achievement is not only a credit to the hard work and dedication of these athletes, but it's a credit to the support they have received from their families, friends, coaches, and teammates. We congratulate the Hamilton Flying Knights and wish them the best of luck for many years to come.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you very much, Mayor and committee. I appreciate, the support of these young people. It's truly a testament to the resolve of these young people and what adults can do and how adults can help them out. These young ladies were all kind of new to track and field, first or second year in track and field. And the impressive thing is that we've had a long-standing good team. I mean, we send kids to the nationals a lot, mostly boys. This year, the young ladies in their first year or second year of track and field had actually come out every day, trained very hard under some strong leadership from our female coaches, which a lot of times you don't get. You don't get that type of support. But they moved their schedules around. My niece Shallon, she has her own practice in town. Exactly what is it? Yeah, she has an outpatient therapy office here in town. She also runs an Stop the Violence or Nonviolence program for Atlantic Care. But to watch her run around, to do all those things and make sure she's here in time by 6 o'clock to coach these kids. And my sister-in-law, Ashley Laws, same thing with, teaching school in Pleasantville and teaching and training kids in this, that, and the other, and getting out here to actually help these kids out. It's mind-boggling, and it's such a big help to me. Because a lot of times I get stuck, trying to make it all happen. And these guys saw me hanging out there in the wind this year and said, you know what, we're going to help you. And we're going to focus on the girls. And the girls turned out to be our superstars this year. So can we get a big round of applause for that? Last but not least, I'd like to, thank people like Bob Sandman and some other people and the county who constantly call and say, hey, Bobby, what do you guys need? What do you guys need? Traveling, is difficult. Getting all those kids down, and it was actually more kids than this. Some couldn't make it, but just getting them down to North Carolina. And in Jaleesa's case, a week prior, maybe a week or two prior, she went down and represented the Mid-Atlantic region, which is New York, Delaware, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. She was the champion in that region, and she went down to Disney and competed in 3 events. She finished first in 2, second in 1, and that made her national champion in 2 events, and first runner-up in the 800 meters. Just looking at these rankings across the nation, when you look at the Olympics, and you see what the times are, you see what the times that these guys are running in Olympics, these young ladies are running times that are on pace with what these guys ran when they were their age. That's something to look forward to. Hamilton Township will have you, I promise you. By the time these girls get old enough, they'll be in the Olympics, and you'll have something more to be proud of. Good job. First, we have Yasmina Carrington. Is she here? Okay, she couldn't make it. Okay. All right. Brianna Lee Grohl. Congratulations. Jalisa Derry. Raise your hand. Aaliyah Laws. Aaliyah, is Aaliyah her youngest one that was at the? Yeah, she was the youngest, the smallest, and she kept pace with some really tall girls. Arizona Kit. Is she here? Okay. Naomi Laws. Cadence McClellan. Destiny Stewart. And my coach is Ashley Parker Laws and Shallon Laws. Thank you guys very much.
Wow, some pretty impressive accomplishments, Bobby, and thank you, Bobby. We know how great you are and how much of your time you dedicate to the youth of this community, and we sincerely appreciate for you for it. So thank you, Bobby. All right, next we'll get to our guest presentation. This evening we have Alan now from Trophy Park. Alan, would you come up, please?
I want to thank the mayor and committee for letting me come in and present what we're planning to do. But you gave me something that's really hard to follow.
I know, tell me.
Kids should really be proud of what you've done. And that's what we're all about. That Trophy Park is all about the kids. And it's a place that is someplace that there's no other place in the world like this. My sons, and one of them sitting there, was a very good athlete. And we went to a lot of places, and they're always missing something. So we took everything that we learned from all the different places that we went and put it into one place where the kids and their families can come. A lot of times you have a sports complex where it's only about sports. So now if you have one son or daughter that's playing in that sport, and the other 2 or 3 kids or one kid that you have with you is sitting there watching the whole time and I don't want to say wasted their vacation, but didn't have that much fun at it. So what we decided to do was have a place where you're not looking for hotels, you're not looking for a place for the kids to stay. We put it together with team suites so the kids will all stay together and have some camaraderie, and they can go out and enjoy their time off in a pool and everything, which we'll show you what we have planned, and make it a destination for the families. We did have an approval to build this in Jackson, New Jersey, but with the pandemic, obviously there wasn't a lot that was happening, and put a lot more thought into it, and we decided that we had to find a better place to put it, and we found it here in Hamilton. There are plenty of colleges around here that need internships for their kids. There's a lot of people around here that need jobs. There's plenty of room for us. There's an airport here because we do have people coming in from all over the world. And we don't have a shovel in the ground and we're sold out. Usually people say if we build it, they'll come. Well, they're coming, so we have to build it. We already have letters of intent from some of the major companies and that handle all the sports events throughout the world. So with the help of Aaron, I think we'll do some. Okay. Trophy Park is a stay and play. The entertainment complex geared towards young athletes and their families. It'll host tournaments and camps for local, regional, national, and international youth. This way here, the kids not only get to see their own cultures, but they see other people from other parts of the world and other parts of the country, and they all get to compete against each other and become friends in a way. The main goal of Trophy Park is to have something for everyone to enjoy, truly make it a destination and not just a sports park. Trophy Park is located obviously near Atlantic City Airport and proximity to many attractions. So that makes it another point where people can go out. You got the mall, you've got a lot of restaurants, there's a lot of things that people can do, Atlantic City. So there's a lot of things that the parents can do because the kids will be staying in their team suites and they won't have to worry about you know, the kids, if they wanted to go to Atlantic City, because there'll be plenty for the kids to do. With all the amenities Trophy Park has to offer, it makes it easy choice for sports tournament venues. A lot of times when you go into a venue, you're staying an hour away because there's just not enough hotels around. A lot of these places are built out in the middle of nowhere. And that takes half of the fun away from it. And then after the event, your team is staying in 5 different hotels. So you're not getting together until the next day at the game. And then somebody's late and holds up the game. And it just, so this way here, with it all being in one spot, it just makes it a lot easier. As far as jobs, we're going to have over 300 full-time jobs and over 1,000 part-time jobs. Internships for the colleges, jobs for people of all ages and all skills. So I think, you know, we pretty much have any kind of job that somebody would want here. Yeah. That is a picture of what it's going to look like.
You should probably take the microphone.
In order to keep the traffic off of Crankleboro Road, we're going to put a traffic light and a jug handle or whatever we need to put here. We haven't got that figured out yet. Oh, thank you. But anyhow, we're going to make it a 4-lane road coming down along the side of the property, which is a paper street right now. This street with the 4 lanes will help keep everything. There'll be entrances here, entrances there, entrances down here. So we'll be able to keep the traffic off of the main street. This road here, with a suggestion from the redevelopment committee, this is a paper street as well, goes out to another street where the firehouse is. So we're going to, and there's an entrance to the expressway out there as well. So we're going to continue this road all the way through. So you'll have entrances and exits from both ends. The fire department not only will be able to get through to us, but they'll be able to come through and get to these houses that are down here. So make it a lot easier for them. This is going to be a hotel here with an amusement park. And then there's going to be another amusement part of it here, which is going to be go-karts, a couple levels with the electric go-karts. There'll be rock climbing, laser tag, a ropes course. This is going to be what they call like a game room, like ESPN Zone used to be in that. That's what's going to be in this here, plus the hotel. This up here is our indoor facility. Has 16 basketball courts in it and 32 volleyball courts. It can change to be either one or the other. This down at the end here is a soccer field, an indoor soccer field. That can be changed into not only a soccer field, but we have arena football, the Jersey Bearcats that's going to be playing here for all their games. And we'll have wrestling in there. We have Scrap Life Wrestling, which is professional wrestling, and cheer. Cheer is a huge thing, but there's no place around here where they have it. Everybody goes to Florida for it, and a lot of people just can't afford that. So we're going to have competitions here. We have some of the major companies. Varsity Cheer is one of them, and you know, and the other one is I can't remember right now, but it's anyhow. So we have 2 of them there, and these 2 hotels here are attached to this. So in the wintertime, the athletes and the parents and everything don't have to go outside. They can just go right into the facility that we have there. These are our soccer fields, lacrosse fields, and this is our stadium. It's a 3,000-seat stadium. We have Benfica, which is from Portugal. They're a major academy for bringing in MLS players, and they're going to be our academy that we have for soccer. And there's a minor league soccer team that's in Atlantic City that's talking to us now about them moving up here and being in that facility. These are the team suites. This is where the kids will be staying. I think we'll be showing pictures of that later. We'll show you them a little later. And then just some practice batting cages and that there. This is the Welcome Center, where when they come in, they will get checked in and go into their assigned suites. This is our baseball fields, and this is a baseball stadium, a 3,000-seat baseball stadium. We're in negotiations now with a brand new minor league baseball team that's going to probably be here with us, but that's what that's for. And obviously we have our parking and everything. There's over 5,000 parking places on this drawing. And one of the things that we try to do is to make it easier. We always feel that when you leave your house till you get back to your house is your event. And if you're not happy because you're sitting in traffic getting there, kind of ruins your day. If you're sitting in traffic when you're leaving, especially if your team lost, you know, you're not in a good mood at all, so you don't want to sit in traffic either. But we've got that figured out so that we won't be sitting in any kind of traffic. Aaron? It's a world-class, family-oriented, multi-purpose sports and entertainment complex. It's 268 acres of indoor and outdoor sports facilities and amenities. Partnership with the best class sports entities and event providers. Obviously located near Atlantic City, Philadelphia, and the Jersey Shore. 1.5 million visitors a year. That 1.5 million visitors are going to want to go to the mall, are going to want to go to the stores, are going to be buying gas, buying whatever. So, I mean, we're going to bring a lot of tourism into the area. Over 400,000 plus athletes per year. Regional, national, international strategic partnerships. State-of-the-art security, health, and wellness features. Both of my sons are athletic trainers, and we're going to have the best athletic training facility that anybody has. Modern housing amenities and eco-conscious features. Live streaming platforms, so when you need a film for a school or that you're trying to get your child into, it'll help them get into it. That's all the sports that we have. Baseball, basketball, cheerleading, dance, field hockey, football, futsal, lacrosse, rugby, soccer, softball, volleyball, wrestling, esports, and more. Pickleball is probably going to be something that's been really growing up, so we're probably going to wind up having pickleball as well. Trophy Park has considered that people's vacations, which I had mentioned before, there's no sense going on that again. Every team that comes to Trophy Park will have a scheduled check-in time to ensure that no team is sitting in traffic or experiencing long waits getting into the park and into their suites. All the people who are attending to watch the tournaments will have an easier time getting in with the plans with the widening roads, added traffic lights, and turning lanes. Trophy Park will add multiple roads around the park to help keep any possible traffic to a minimum, especially on the main roads nearby. Trophy Park will also make sure to have ample parking so that there are fewer backups and people won't have to drive around searching for a spot. And if any of you guys have gone to tournaments, sometimes you're parking 2 miles away to get to it because there's just not enough parking. With it being close to Atlantic City, the airports, and everything, it just works. Aaron? The indoor facility, which I showed you where everything is at, is 345,000 square foot. 16 basketball courts, which converts into the 32 volleyball courts. Indoor soccer field will also be used for New Jersey Bearcats arena football. Event space that can seat up to 4,000 attendees. Various concession stands will be placed throughout the building, locker rooms, meeting rooms, offices, and film rooms available for the teams. 2 of the hotels from Trophy Park will be connected to the indoor facility for ease and access, especially in the winter months. Aaron? Trophy Park's indoor facility will be used basically for basketball and volleyball. The event space will be utilized for wrestling tournaments, cheerleading competitions, indoor soccer, and arena football. The building also will house Garden State Greats, a permanent interactive exhibit celebrating the culture and history of sports in New Jersey, with educational outreach components and programs for the underserved communities throughout the state of New Jersey. Our partners are New Jersey Bearcats, which is an arena football team, Garden State Basketball, Ohio Basketball, Coach's Choice Basketball, World Cup Cheer, Varsity Cheer, Scrap Life Wrestling, and Garden Empire Volleyball Association. The outdoor features are 24 fields that are all AstroTurf, 12 baseball fields and 12 multi-purpose fields, 3,000-seat soccer stadium, a 3,000-seat baseball stadium, various outdoor concessions, bleacher seating for spectators, and a pavilion area with tables. What the idea of that is for people who want to get out of the sun, they have a place to go. If there's a storm come up, they have a place to go. So it just makes it a little bit easier on everybody that they're not running, trying to get back to their cars. They can go to the pavilion and that. Our partners are Benfica Academy, which is the one I was saying is from Portugal, PDA Soccer, Cal Ripken Baseball, EDP Soccer, Steps Lacrosse, and Special Olympics of New Jersey. We wanted to give back to the people that really can't come and compete in our events, so we hooked up with Special Olympics of New Jersey, and we're going to be doing a lot of events with them. Trophy Parks Athlete Village will have team suites that can hold up to 2,000 people. These are the suites that we're putting up. And each suite has a storage area outside where they can put all their equipment so they're not dragging them up to the room and smelling their dirty stuff over the time. There's 24-hour securities. The rec center, including video games, billiards, ping pong, and Olympic-sized swimming pool. The idea of the swimming pool is that when the kids play a game in the morning and it's a hot day, they can go back, go in the pool, relax a little bit, freshen up, go to their suite, change their clothes, and then come back out and play and be all refreshed instead of just being there half wore out. Each team suite can sleep 15 to 20 athletes and their coaches. The suites are made with half walls, except in the bathrooms, obviously. But the idea of that is that this way here the coaches can keep an eye on what's going on. They're not in individual rooms, so it makes it a lot more safer for everybody. There's the AC, TV, bathroom, showers, equipment storage. It's included in each suite. Any of the places, there's only a couple around the country that have suites, but they're like barracks and they have no air conditioning. They tell you when you're going there, like one of them is Cooperstown, which is a very famous one, bring a fan with you because it's going to be hot. So everybody that's staying in our places will be comfortable. Aaron? We're going to have an indoor dining hall that seats 800 people, including additional outside seating. That's what it's going to look like. The dining hall will be primarily used for the athletes staying, but will be open to the public so families can eat together. The food court style layout is kind of like what they do in the colleges and that. Will provide multiple dining options for the Trophy Park athletes and guests. The athletes staying in the athletic village will have a dining plan, which will allow them with their card and that to get whatever they want for their breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And the parents or siblings that want to come will have to just pay. Now, one of the things that we're doing is we're going to have like different colors on the menus. And let's say blue is going to be for what you would eat post-game. Red would be for what you would eat pre-game. And then the other one would be the junk food. So, but we'll have a little bit for everything. But we're also going to have nutritionists on staff because there's so many people today that have allergies and that if you're sending your child here to play, you can call up and talk to our nutritionist and say what problems you have to make sure that everything is good for their menu so you don't have to worry about them. Aaron? This is going to be our welcome center. This is where the teams will come in, they will check in and get their team suites and their schedules for what they're going to do, and then they will move on to their suites from there. Like I said before, we're going to have, the check-ins will be staggered so that we don't have big lines in that. So somebody might be 6 o'clock in the morning, somebody might be 10. But it does cut down on a lot of time by doing that. Aaron? There'll be many concessions throughout. This one here is in the baseball diamond, and this downstairs has concessions, it has bathrooms, and it has an athletic training room, even with ice in it, an ice bath. So if it's really hot out and somebody gets overheated, they can put them in an ice bath. And up top will be the announcers and probably scouts and stuff like that will be up there as well. Aaron? Trophy Park's going to have 3 Wyndham hotels that'll be open to the public. Anybody can stay in them. If you're signing up for your athletes and that, you would probably want to sign up for the rooms. There is 600 rooms between the 3 hotels. If you have 2,000 kids, which is what we're planning on having every week, and 25% of the parents come, and we know more than that's going to come, that's filling up 500 of the rooms. So the 600 rooms might sound like a lot, but it's not. But anybody can stay there. So if somebody has family coming in and they need a place for them to stay, they book it ahead of time, they'll be able to get to stay there. So like I said before, there's really usually no place for anybody to stay that's close. And Hamilton, from what I understand, does not have any hotels at all now, do they? So, and we're also going to have, which isn't on here, but we're going to have a conference center or a dining facility that will take up to like 500 people for weddings or, whatever else you might want to have there. So that will be it. And like I said, 2 of them will be connected to the indoor facility. We're going to have an amusement area that'll be open to the public. And in their off time, like Ed mentioned before, it gives them something to do. And, we're planning on being a destination with attractions for everyone in the family. We'll have, even with the go-karts, we're going to have go-kart tracks for adults and for the teenagers and for the smaller kids. So they all get to go on them. 2 18-hole miniature golf courses, a ropes course, multi-rock climbing walls, a large arcade, and concessions. So I think that's about it, right? But, I mean, basically what we're doing is for you guys. You deserve it. I mean, as good as you guys are. Oh, yes, but the reason it's not on there is because we're working with the New York Runners Club, which does the New York Marathon. And we're going to have a full-size certified cross-country course. That'll be in there. And the reason that it's not on the drawing now is because we haven't figured out how we're going to lay it out. We have to get everything else figured out because we want to make it special. We want to make it so that our buffer zone going around the edge, you'll be riding by the woods or running by the woods. And then also it would be a place for the people that are staying in the hotels that want to go for a walk or anything like that. But we're definitely going to have that there. And then I didn't know this until a couple of years ago, that the New York Runners Club, all the money that they make off of the marathon is for the inner city kids. They take them and they're going to come here for camps and stuff like that, so in the summertime. So the money they make there, and plus what we're going to help them with, the kids will be able to come here. And then because they're inner city kids that don't get the health care that they need, we're going to make arrangements with the hospitals and the doctors in the area to come out and give some free help for the kids, as well as our nutritionists helping those kids learn how to eat the right, proper foods.
Amazing. All of it's amazing. I got very excited when I saw all of this. This is big for this area. But will you also include a track, or is that just the cross country?
The track will be in the soccer stadium. That'll all be in there. Because we weren't going to do that originally, but we wound up doing that because of Special Olympics. And they need that in there, so we added that in there. But yes, there will be a regular track on the inside there. Yes, sir. Well, the indoor facility can do that. All right. We've actually talked about, and we haven't engineered that yet. We have a little ways to go with that. We also talked about, because that building is 65 feet high, we talked about having a track up higher than the field. It was be going around up on the top up there. So we talked that, but yes, indoor there will be a track, yes. So, anybody else have any questions? I mean, when you come down to it, this is for kids. You know, there's a lot of people that can't get to afford to go to Florida, and there's no place in the world like this place. There's some that are similar, but not, they don't have everything. If you go to Disney, you're paying for a 3-day hopper pass. You're paying for the rooms, which are not cheap. And then, you know, one family staying in one place, one staying in another place, so you don't have the camaraderie of the team spending all their time together. They play baseball together, and after that, they go and they play, or jump in the pool, or they go and play in the arcade or anything else like that. It just makes them the camaraderie better. So. Any questions from the committee?
Committee, anyone have questions for Alan while he's here? I don't believe so. Alan, we thank you for the presentation.
Great presentation. Thank
Yes,
you.
very nice.
And I expect to see all you kids playing there. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, what form of transportation will be taken?
Oh, well, and she just asked when it'll be done. I have to go through all my approvals first, and this, I had just presented it to the town a couple of weeks ago. And like I said, I searched all over and found a town that I really like to be in, so that's why here. So, but I do have to go through all my approvals. The fields are all ordered already. The buildings are all ordered already. All the contractors are picked to do it. So as soon as I get my approvals, the shovel will be in the ground the next day, and the fields will be open within a year. So you guys will all be able to play there.
Alan, Mrs. Link does have one question for you.
Yes.
Yes, there are times where the people won't be playing, you know, a particular sport. Do you have some transportation ideas to take children or parents to the mall, to various
Yes, there'll be shuttles.
shuttles?
Yes, there'll be shuttles all over the place. The ones that are going to go to the Atlantic City, the Casino Commission said they would supply the ones that go to Atlantic City. All right. I don't know how many of that. We have to figure that out as it goes along. But we will have shuttles that will take people where they need to go to the malls or anything else like that. And even for if they're coming in by plane, we'll have shuttles go pick them up at the airport.
Very good.
Anybody else?
Alan, we appreciate you choosing Hamilton to invest in. So,
Well, I
You
think
already own this property?
No, we're closing on it at the end of this week.
Okay.
You know, I have a contract and everything. We just had a couple things that we had to work out. The people that I bought the property from, one of them lives in Israel, and the other one lives in Argentina. So it's a little bit tough when you're spending that much money and it's being wired out of the country. They want to make sure that it's going to the right places and stuff like that.
Did you make any attempt to reach out to the Atlantic City Race Course to try to buy anything in there?
No, I did not. No. I heard that Parks Casino owned it and that they didn't want to sell it. So, and it's not quite as big. This property here is a bigger piece of property. It's kind of like, I don't want to say out of the way, but it's not right on the main highway. And, you know, it's close enough to everything, but it's still a little bit away. We don't really want to add to more traffic around the mall. You know, we want people to be able to get to the mall, not to get stuck in traffic.
any other questions, committee? Alan, thank you very much for
Thank
your
you.
presentation.
Great
We
job.
look forward to helping you move forward.
Thank you. Looking forward to working with everybody.
Thank you.
If anybody has any suggestions along the way, we are open to any suggestions that anybody has to make the project a better project. We want to help put Hamilton on the map.
I appreciate that, Alan.
Thank
Thank you. Mr. Sandman, if you want to take your rightful seat, we'll get back in action here. Let me clear out for a second here. Oh, my goodness. Amazing, really. Yeah. You can tell how much time he spends with them, you know? You can tell how much time he spends with them.
Oh, I forgot your gun.
All right, we're going to move on. Next, we have one addition, deletion of late agenda items to be considered for action tonight. We have 3C, private road improvements, 3D, private development improvements, Timberland, introduction of ordinance, public hearing to be held September 19, 2022. 5B, ordinance 2011-2022. This is an ordinance to amend Article 2 of Chapter 66 of the Code of the Township of Hamilton, providing for annual salary increases and increase in salary maximums for certain employees. Need a motion? Motion?
Motion.
Motion?
Second.
Second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it. And next, we'll move on to early public comment. Joe?
We do have one, sir, from Mr. Eric Huska.
Which item, Joe?
Sorry?
Move that back a little bit. Sorry about that. That's perfect, thank you.
On hearing the presentation, we don't disagree. There's a bunch of us here. What you didn't see on the map was the proximity to several homes that are cut off that map. While we don't disagree with this in concept, we do feel that...
Is the mic on?
Is it better?
There you
You're
go.
talking to it, yeah.
There's just some concern on behalf of some of the homeowners that live in this district, which is zoned rural development 5 acres. Where the racetrack is, we talked a little bit about the size. It's actually 255 acres. So it's less than 12 acres shy of what he has.
Okay.
It's already zoned recreational commercial. It has the proximity between exits 14 and 12 from the expressway already intact. It has the impervious coverage. Even if it was milled and overlaid, the impervious calculations have been done. The water, the sewer's there. So we didn't talk about how close he is to water and sewer and how he's going to extend it to get there, but we just want to put the board on notice that we expect the diligence as residents, that there should be a balance between the economic development in this town and the concern of the residents. So I have a list of stuff, but I think I'm going to hold it for now. I'll probably write it.
You do understand, tonight, he came before because he didn't want the rumors out there. He wanted the public to know what the intent is, but where he's at in his process is, I believe tomorrow we have, or this week, we have a meeting with Pinelands. He's going to have a lot of hurdles with Pinelands. And then, once those hurdles are crossed, then he will get scheduled for yet another workshop probably, and then a planning board meeting. So there's going to be a lot of areas along the way for input here.
Will there be any chance to talk about the zoning and how, in the last meeting, Ms. Crane said it was brought to their board as a workshop agenda item, and they deemed it an appropriate use for RD5? I would like to know the process behind how you determine, how the determination was made that it was an appropriate use deep in the heart, north of the expressway. Without the water and sewer to support it, it was deemed an appropriate use.
Are you prepared to speak on that, or is it a question you would like to get back to him on? Sure, there you go.
Our professionals deemed it a due to the location.
All right.
Those 268 acres are in a flight path. And it's the likelihood of residential development there is slim to none.
You speak to the mic, please. We can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I said because the area is in a flight zone, our professionals determined that any it's zoned residential, but any residential development going there is slim to none. So that was the determination by our board professionals. So are we going to change the zone? Through a redevelopment agreement.
So we're going to change it to what's a design commercial?
No, that's yet to be determined by our redevelopment attorney, but through a redevelopment agreement, all of the zoning regulations will be laid out in that agreement for that particular property only. It will only apply to that property.
Thanks for answering the question. So that seems like a significant change of, matter of fact, it almost flies in the face of our current zoning. regulations. So somebody who lives deep in the heart of an RD5 district, and they chose that location because they weren't near the corner or the edge of a property zoning, is now going to just arbitrarily have a piece changed. And that flight path has been existing for decades. So we endure that. We knew that going in, but we also knew that we weren't near the edge of a zoning district boundary. So that's all I have for now, but I think we want to stress that it would be a better win long-term for the township to redevelop a property that we're all watching fall apart next to a mall that's on life support, with a lot of the infrastructure already in place to support it, with a use that used to be very similar to what they're proposing now in terms of its intensity.
It's just very difficult for us, as a governing body, we can't take people and make someone who owns a piece of property and do something with it. We have reached out to the racetrack property, we've reached out to, we actually have an open discussion with the mall. I'm going to be announcing something very, very soon. So they're great locations, I get it, but if he didn't choose there, we can't make him go there.
But we can choose not to arbitrarily change
I agree
that
with you.
zone.
I'm not disagreeing with you
We're gonna
whatsoever.
bring 2 million visitors into an RD5, Rural Development District, 5-acre minimum zoning on just Rangaborough Road, which is already crowded. And I'd have to look again at the map, but he said something about the firehouse, but the firehouse is on Cologne Avenue. His line came out to Leipzig.
Through his original workshop,
Right.
the members of the workshop had mentioned to him from a traffic standpoint, the flow would be much better if some of that traffic went out to Leipzig Avenue for expressway access. He, at that point, if the property was available, he offered to purchase it to go ahead and take care of what the wishes were in the workshop. So that's the reason why that discussion ensued.
Okay, thank you. We just hope, for our sake, that you approach it with the same diligence you did in 2008 as a private citizen.
Absolutely. And listen, I've been volunteering in this town for over 20 years for one reason only, planning and zoning. I care about what this town is going to look like for my grandkids. So you don't, I appreciate you saying that, but you don't have to, because that's why I volunteer my time two nights a month for the last 20 years, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. No one else, Joe?
No, sir.
Okay.
Oh, I have a question. I came in just a little late. Can I sign up to talk about an issue that affects me?
Which issue is it?
Well, it's not about anything that's on your agenda.
Okay, then at the end of the meeting, we will have public comment. You'll be able to speak on whatever matter you like. You're welcome. All right, next we'll move on to discussion. Formal actions may be taken. A, township incentives for volunteers. Joe?
Absolutely, Mayor. So this incentive stems from our ongoing conversations and work with the fire departments and the chiefs. And we're trying to throw additional ideas on how we can incentivize the volunteers. So in your packet, you see that the first idea is looking at the zoning permit and waiving any permit fees for the residential aspects. Single families, easy things, pools, decks, sheds, they're $25, $35. This is a way that the volunteers and the fire departments believe that would further incentivize their membership. So this is one aspect we're looking at. Another aspect that they believe is beneficial would be the cove fees. We understand that, children 12 and under, they're free. So this doesn't apply to them. This applies to their families, their older children, and how we could further incentivize the older kids who may be coming of age, wanting to volunteer and getting into the young membership as well. So these are just ideas on how we could assist not only the fire department, but all volunteer members, organizations as well.
Joe, I have a question, and actually it's probably one for Bob. Have we ever thought about maybe taking our property taxes and saying, if you're a volunteer firefighter, we're going to give you 2% off your property taxes for as long as you're a volunteer firefighter? Or, and I just think they're putting their skin in the game every day to protect us as citizens. So why not give back as a community by 1% so that people know? Does that Can we do that? I don't even know, Bob, that would be a question.
I don't know the answer to that as I sit here. I do know that there is a constitutional requirement that all property be assessed on an ad valorem basis, meaning value. But we do have things like the veterans.
That's where I'm coming from. I'm thinking if we can do it for veterans, would it not boost our volunteerism?
Bob, is that something you might be able to take a look at to find out if that is a
Absolutely.
possibility?
Sure.
I think, I mean, this is just one part of what we'd like to create a total package. Obviously, we have a lot of volunteers in this town, not just firemen, of course, but we do appreciate our volunteer firemen, and this is just one way for us to give back as a community and help those chiefs that are looking to recruit more individuals. So this is one piece of it. So this is one piece we wanted to discuss tonight, get the consensus of the committee if you want to add this to the package as we continue to develop the entire package, so.
I like the fee structure, but if they're content in their home and they're not making improvements to their home, they won't benefit from it. Whereas if you had somebody that was in a steady state, 1% off their property taxes, I'm incentivized. It's just me. What do you guys think?
Joe, in this proposal, do we have any parameters as to how long a person has to serve as a fireman to have access to these reductions?
I believe the best way to go about it is comparable to the LoSAP program you have now. Whereas you volunteer for a certain amount of hours, you get those points, and you become a qualifying member is the term, right? If you're a qualifying member, that, I think, should initiate your free membership for the Cove or whatever incentive program you want to instill. Again, it's up to you as a committee, but
And I
just throwing
just want to
ideas.
clarify, we are not touching LoSAP. LoSAP is staying in place. This is over and above. It's an additional incentive, so.
And we're also thinking of other incentives. If you think of something else, we're still open for other incentives as well.
Yeah, Joe, I didn't mean to not say yours were good. I was just thinking out of the box.
More
'cause I do
ideas.
that.
We're looking for more ideas. I appreciate it.
So committee, if you have additional ideas, please submit them to Joe so that we can continue to develop this overall package. Do you want to vote of confidence one way or the other on this, or you just want to leave it as a discussion item?
No, I think honestly, I'll be drafting an ordinance along with Bob. Once we get the ideas of what type of incentives you want, we'll compile it all together, and we'll draft it then. So just keep on throwing more ideas at me, and we'll draft the ordinance accordingly.
I had the idea of building permits.
Yes.
So is that one there?
Yes, that's part of the zoning permit application. You'll see there's
Okay.
about 10 fees in there we're going to look at.
And
I
I'm
believe
fully.
this was discussed in the fire study.
Oh, yes, yeah, it's promoted,
recommendation.
yeah, it's promoted in the DCA report as a way to further incentivize them. Absolutely.
All right, although we would give them a break on the permits, it does not mean that the zoning board will not do their duty to make whether
Absolutely.
they're qualifying otherwise
And
for.
yes, Judy, absolutely, yes.
the zoning.
It would not change the process of them getting their approvals for whatever their fees are being waived for. It would just waive the fees.
Okay.
All right, if there's nothing else on that, we'll move on to B, street vacation request, alley between 12th and 13th Street, Block 780. Do you want to touch on this one, Joe, or you want me to?
Well, there's a map indicated in the back, so please take a look at that. The vacation request right there it goes right through the property, so it doesn't affect any of the neighboring neighbors. They did provide their request, and there's been no objections.
And just to be clear, this is not the throughway, the Calhoun Thruway. It's another paper alley between
Correct.
Bainbridge and Calhoun, correct?
Correct, that's correct, yes.
Committee, questions, comments?
Have none.
Do we need to take action on this?
I need to draft an ordinance.
No, I
Want to
just,
draft an ordinance, and we'll just come back. So, before the solicitor does that?
at this point, we're just doing a motion. so that I know you want to move forward with it, and then I'll get in touch with the Andersons. If they still want to go ahead, they're going to give me the $500 fee and the meets and bounds. I already have from the neighbor, they don't object. Then we'll do
Thank you, Rita.
the ordinance,
All right,
okay?
so folks, if you support this, I'll entertain a motion to the same. If you don't support, I'll entertain a motion.
A motion to support.
Second.
I have a motion, Mr. Cheek, second by Mrs. Link. Rita, could I get a roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carry.
All right, next we'll move on to 4. Public hearing, adoption of ordinances. First, we have A, ordinance 2006-2022. This is an ordinance establishing a special commission
Had other
known...
discussions. We had other discussions.
We did have the discussion. We took the action.
Private road.
3C,
Oh, thank you. Thank you,
Oh,
Mr. Fallon.
yeah, 3C and 3D.
Forgive me, we do have 2 additions. 3C, before we move on to public hearing, 3C, private road improvements. I don't have,
Well, there's nothing
There
there.
wasn't anything.
So this is kind of like a dialogue I wanted to have with committee and the audience. We have the infamous private road behind McDonald's that's forever in bad repair. And this last week, within the last 2 weeks, we went down that they filled one hole, there's still several there. We've been working with this private road owner for about 30 years, and this road really has never come under good repairs. It's always been an issue. I'd like to propose that we write an ordinance that says if you have a private road and you have more than 3 commercial properties where the public accesses that private road, that private road must be maintained to a certain standard. And if that standard is not, if it falls short of that standard, that the township will come in and pave that road, and then we will pass that cost, and we will lien the property to the point where we take the property from the owner. I mean, we're dancing around Guy Tunney's road now for 30 years, and at some point, you just say enough. So I'm thinking, let's make it generic, and let's make it fair. And I'd like to hear from committee, and I'd like to hear from Bob. Is this feasible? Is it doable? I mean, 30 years, we're tackling the same old, same old.
Well,
Can't do that.
you're calling it a road, it's not a road. It's on private property, but it's used by the public. The owner of that alleyway, let's call it, could choose to block it off. Now, they wouldn't choose to block it off all the way because it accesses the car wash. But if they blocked it off at some point after that, it would not access the shopping center or the McDonald's. And Steve Philippone and I took this issue to the property owner years ago, and he did make repairs. They just weren't great. So the issue presented is whether or not you can enforce rights on a private property owner to keep a road safe where they know that the public is using that road. And I think the answer is no. I think the answer is, and I'll get more specific in my research on this. It's no different than a dirt road going, somewhere out in Laureldale that we know people are using to get to an area where they hunt or they fish or whatever. It is what it is. It's what the owner has a right to do. But I am certainly willing to research the possibility of creating law that where it is determined to be unsafe, maybe there's a remedy. And that's a big maybe.
Can we then put a sign up that says the owner of this road is Guy Tunney, and this road is deemed unsafe by the township? Travel at your own risk, so that we can stop talking about it in township.
Well, if you own the land where you're putting the sign, I guess you could, provided the planning board or the construction office allowed you to do that.
Aaron, do we have an application coming before us on that? Did they pull that application, or are we moving forward?
They're moving forward, but they have work to do with the DEP first.
So there is the possibility of a redevelopment application would come before the planning board at some time in the future? which at that point, you would have the opportunity to require improvements. But
By
my
decision-
question was going to be, Bob, if that was originally part of a site plan, I mean, there would have to be a zoning violation if it was part of the site plan or not.
I don't know that it
No,
was.
right. I mean, when they built that complex, when they brought CVS in, maybe they did an amended site plan, but I think that's what you'll look
Well-
into then?
I can tell you, when I sat on zoning for a year and a half, we bantered it back and forth, didn't we, Mr. Christ? We bantered this road back. I mean, we have consumed enough committee time and zoning and planning for this particular road that I'm trying to just end it. Why don't we just block the road off?
You can't. But the mayor's got the right idea. You can do through zoning that which you may not be able to do legally through independent ordinance. So if there's something coming in that affects any of the neighboring properties, in the DNR approving that development, you can by contract achieve what you want to achieve.
I'm confused, Bob, because
Come on up to the microphone.
I sat on zoning a year and a half ago, and we gave Mr. Tunney another private road when this one was in
He doesn't know
disrepair.
that anymore.
So I'm really confused.
Bill, I'm going to assume you're going to speak with your knowledge of the planning board and how many years you,
Yes.
Okay.
Well, besides what happened many, many years ago,
state your name.
Bill Chrisman, zoning board. Mr. Tunney has been in front of the zoning board, and we did have a workshop.
I'm sorry, I'm not picking you up at all. Can you just?
Mr.
Thank you.
Mr. Tunney did come to our zoning board a few months back, and he is trying to change his car wash to an ice cream store. I think we all know that, okay? Part of in our going back and forth with Mr. Tunney, we said, you have to repair that road, you have to repave it. And that is part of the agreement. So for him to get what he wants to do with his property in the very, very near future, he was talking about possibly starting by the beginning of this next coming year. And if that is the case, then he will be paving that. We made that point to him. We will not approve it until he does fix that. So I think the answer will be
That's
down the
great.
road.
That
In the near
ends
future.
the problem right there.
Well, no, that puts a Band-Aid on it, because we all know what's going to happen is we're going to skim coat it, and in about a year and a half, we're going to be right back in here
No, no,
again.
no. The DNR's,
no,
the
he's going-
DNR's going to require maintenance.
Well, he's going to have to, for his approval, he's going to have an entrance, and he's going to have a circular traffic flow go around his new proposal of his ice cream store.
Just what Mr. Sandman said, I mean, without him having the knowledge of this, when this was originally planned and how it came through the planning board, that could just be this road that was not on part of that plan, and if he wanted to, as you said, he could just shut it down.
Yep.
What Mr. Chrisman is saying, basically, now that there will be a site plan on it, this road is part of that site plan.
Correct.
Now it comes up to all the updated standards, and the maintenance of it would be required year after year.
We're even looking at curbing and possible sidewalk there.
That will make Jack very happy.
Absolutely.
And the DNR could provide that, should that not happen, through proper maintenance, we could take action and lien the property. You can do that by a DNR through a resolution of the zoning board. So that would provide, where'd you go?
He's not- Bill, and I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge your decades of service on various boards in this town. We thank you very, very much.
You're very welcome. It's been my honor.
One of the things that I have felt in using that road, or alleyway, it's an option for the person who is in that, commercial zone. There are lots of other areas where people can exit that commercial zone. They don't have to go in that road. The other thing is that there's a great deal of commercial trucking, buses, whatever it is, parking along there and using that road. Why isn't it also their responsibility to share in that repair?
Whose responsibility?
The truckers and stuff that come and park right there.
Well, the trucks pay a state tax for use of the state highways independently.
Well,
And
that's
that
not
goes
a
into the
state
Highway
highway.
Trust Fund.
What?
That goes through the Highway Trust Fund. The easiest and cleanest way is what the mayor suggested, and what Phil has suggested, that you make a condition of the DNR that the road be repaved up to current standards, that are required to maintain it. If there is no maintenance, we can go in, fix it, and lien the property. And if the DNR is that specific, it is enforceable.
Will the access to that ice cream stand also involve that alleyway? Would it just sort of be a circular
It doesn't
road?
matter. I presume it does, but it doesn't matter because it's part of the property that's going to be subject to the application, and the conditions can affect all of the property.
Now, what happens if, okay, the DNR would stipulate this, but what happens when Mr. Tunney decides he's going to sell that whole property?
It runs with the land,
It runs with the property,
yes.
okay?
Anything else, Mrs. Link?
No, I've experienced that road, it's been terrible.
It
or
is.
Alleyway. And, you know, if you have a broken axle because of it, and I don't know who's responsible
Ms.
for the
Hopkins, anything to add?
repairs.
I just think the road should be marked private road. I think that there should be a driver beware on it. If someone goes down, I mean, some of those holes were 9 inches deep, you could lose small children in them. I think if the township's not responsible for the road, and that's what the position we're gonna be on, then we ought to at least publish that we're not responsible for it.
The owner of the property is aware formally of the condition of the road and that it is dangerous. He is therefore on notice of a dangerous condition on his property. Under standard negligence law, that creates a duty. If that duty is breached, he is liable to whoever suffers the damage. Right now, as we speak, that's the case.
Well, thank you. My point in bringing it up for discussion was to see if we could get a one-time solution, and it sounds like if he does the ice cream thing, we have a solution. If he doesn't and he sells it, we have a second solution, and if he does nothing, we'll see you guys next year.
We will be watching you on, we got your back on the zoning board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. All right, we'll move on to 3D, private development improvements, Timber Glen.
I asked Joe to talk about this. I know a couple phone calls were made to the zoning office. The woods behind Woodlands to Almond Avenue, the trees have been stripped. So I just asked Joe to get us caught up to speed to let all the public know exactly what's going on.
Right, so I appreciate that. We've been in contact with the redeveloper. We're working with our construction office, our zoning office, and we're going to be issuing a formal legal letter to them. We've just been brought up to speed with all of their backgrounds and their permitting, and everything does have to be resubmitted. So we're working on that right now.
Okay. And I had a discussion with our chief over the weekend, and I even brought it up with Erin Crane when I met with her last week. If you see something, say something. And I asked the chief if maybe we can have a meeting with Joe, the chief, the other heads of all of our departments. When you see a piece of equipment, when you see a tractor trailer pull over and you see that they're unloading a piece of heavy equipment in the woods, make a phone call to Joe and say, hey, you know, I'm on Almond Avenue and I see some equipment sitting here. Do they have permits? Are they allowed to be doing this? Because by the time something got said, the trees are already gone. It's, you know, so if they aren't, if ultimately they're told, you can't build here, you know, whatever, something changed since the time they had their preliminary, whatever it was that they had with the township, the tree, they're gone. You know, what are we gonna do? We're gonna fine them, make them plant new trees,
Yeah.
you know, but the damage is already done. So I'm just saying, I think that's something that we should look at doing in the near future. Have a meeting, talk about it, when, let the chief know to let his, all of his patrolmen know, hey, you see something, you know, call dispatch, let Joe Gostecki know, and he'll look into it and see if we're good to go or not.
I have a question for Bill Chrisman. That area, is that where Adams Branch, that Adams Branch has been. Yes. Is that going to be impacted by that development? Or have they made, in their, I don't know if you've gone back 14 years to see if it, but I know when I was on the environmental committee, that Adams Branch definitely impacted the Babcock Creek, but also, the flooding at Cologne and 322. So, I think that should be sort of looked into or examined. Can you go to?
The Great Egg Harbor River Council, which oversees Adams Branch. About 14 years ago, we had a problem with when they were washing the heavy equipment at the race course. They were renting it out there was a big auction for heavy equipment, and they were washing the equipment. And all the grease and oil was going down into Adams Branch, which was causing a lot of pollution into Babcock Creek and then into the river. And we did a major study on it, and we got help from the state. And during these last 14 years, the state has actually stepped in and has declared Adams Branch as a protected waterway. Okay, so it's really, Adams Branch has developed into a very important little tributary. Okay, so yes, what you're saying is anything that happens in that area is going to go into Adams Branch. All the stormwater that comes from the Hamilton Mall, the racetrack, that all goes down into Adams Branch. That's a lot of water.
Allegedly.
Yeah. But it all goes down into Adams Branch, into Babcock Creek. So yes, it is heavily watched and maintained, and yeah, there will be an effect from that.
So then the state will be interested to find out how they accommodate or what they do to protect that Adams Branch.
It will all be part of the works, yes, and the River Council, Great Egg Harbor River Council will be involved in that also.
Okay.
River Council be involved with redevelopment that just got mentioned?
Ms. Dix, I'm sorry, this isn't public.
I'm not going to get into all this.
Thank you.
That's so great, you're the point.
All right, we're moving on.
Well, no, let me just say one time, as the representative to the Great Egg Harbor River Council, which I have been from the beginning of 1992, I would appreciate if I could be included in the redevelopment portion of that.
Of the individual that is clear cut already?
Sure, anything that would be involved within our Great Egg Harbor River area, which is a quarter mile within, yeah, if I could.
Could we look into that just to see, especially with what he does? Let's see if we can do that, okay?
Yeah, I would
I don't
like to
think
be able
that's
to
an
make
issue, Bill,
reports
but-
back to the River Council, yes.
It was an issue.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Lee?
Yes, it was an issue for many years. We've been working on trying to have a detention, now there's a detention basin there at Cologne and 322 to alleviate some of that flooding. But it will, water just flows where it wants to go. And we have to see if we can try to, accommodate or try to foresee some of the problems. So, yeah. That's
Any
all.
other comments? Any other comments, committee? All right. We'll move on to 4A now. 4A, ordinance 2006-2022. This is an ordinance establishing a special commission known as the Economic Development Commission of the Township of Hamilton, Atlantic County.
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Sure.
as introduced, there was a Scribner's error in the initial introduction that was plain on its face. The numbers did not add up to 11 members. I wrote a letter to you and to our administrator that changes the number of years of the terms. I view that to be insignificant,
Okay.
and it is a correction of errors under the statute. So you may feel free to introduce it if you like tonight.
Fantastic, thank you. So, committee, we've discussed this on several different occasions. We've gotten to this point. This is transforming our current industrial commission. They will run parallel to this, I guess, and eventually, hopefully, they'll convert completely to an economic development commission for the entire township. They've done such a great job in the industrial park. Now we want to concentrate on all the properties on our commercial corridors throughout the entire town. Questions, comments?
Yes. Under duties and powers,
Which
M.
paragraph, Mr. Patel?
paragraph M, so page 3,
Okay.
it says to enter into contracts. And then you go to limitations of powers, it says, the commission shall not have any powers other than those set forth, and specifically shall have no power to pledge the credit of the municipality or to enter into contracts. So can they enter into contracts, or can they not enter into contracts?
They can enter into contracts. That language that you just read, the second part of it comes directly from the Industrial Commission Creation Statute. It means that you can't do it and encumber lands owned by the township in the process of doing it. But you
Okay.
can enter into a contract.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? I think this is a wonderful thing for our community. Anxious to get Mr. Pritchard and his team working hard. So with that, I'll entertain a motion. Public hearing. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone that wishes to speak on this? Mr. Carrigan, please.
Once this new commission is formed, what's going to happen to the old industrial commission?
The industrial commission will stay in place until such time as it's past its useful life. When it's no longer necessary, when there's no longer property that's owned by the township in the industrial park, at that point, if the committee that's here at that time decides that there's no further need for an industrial commission, that the Economic Development Commission serves all those roles, then they can go ahead and make that decision. But we're
Okay.
talking sometime in the future.
Okay.
Anyone else in the public that wishes to speak? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion.
So moved.
Motion?
Second.
Second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, committee, what's your pleasure?
I'll motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Cheek,
I have a second.
a second by Ms. Hopkins. Read a roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and adopted.
All right, next we'll move on to B. This is ordinance 2007-2022, an ordinance amending Exhibit A, Section 1, Article 2 of Chapter 66 of the Code of the Township of Hamilton, providing for the maximum number of employees, specifically part-time communications officers. Joe, you want to give just a little bit of background on this, please? I know we've discussed it several times.
Yep, this is actually a request of the police department and the police chief. This increases our part-time communication officers from 8 to 12.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion.
So moved.
Motion? Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, committee. You've heard the chief speak on it. You've heard the previous discussions. What's your pleasure?
Move ordinance 2007-2022.
I have a motion by Mr. Vitale,
Second.
second by Mrs. Link. Rita, could I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and adopted.
All right, next we'll move on to C. This is ordinance 2008-2022. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 301, Article 1 of the Code of the Township of Hamilton to create a no parking zone on certain portions of West Jersey/Riga Avenue in the Township of Hamilton, County of Atlantic, State of New Jersey. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion.
Motion.
Motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
I have a question.
Yes.
So we have trucks that are parked on West Jersey. We take the time to create the ordinance so that we can make them stop. And if they don't, we fine them $50. That's a lot of labor and work. I'm just looking at it from a business perspective. Why wouldn't the fine be more like $500? I know, I'm not trivializing it, and I don't want to beat up the public, but if you're taking the time to write a law, to pass an ordinance that's now going to be forever, you know, you're talking about $50, you might imprison them, put them in jail, which will never happen. But why not put some teeth into this? I'm asking the question because I don't know the answer.
Is this a statutory limitation, Bob?
No. Usually it's graduated from first to second to third offense. It increases upon the number of offenses to the particular individual or vehicle.
I guess I'm just sitting here thinking, we write a lot of laws, and they're always like $50, $100 in imprisonment. We're never going to imprison anybody for this. But I'm thinking, why not put an extra zero and make it 500 and publish it? And if people do it, they're
Well,
going to do it once, but
you
they're probably not
could-
going to do it twice.
You could, if you're of a mind to, adopt this today, amend it next week, or the month of next meeting. And I would do that on advice of the chief and Wade Smith to see what would be the most effective way to do it.
I agree with Mr. Samian, Ms. Hopkins. I think that we should, providing the committee wants to do so, pass this evening. Let's see if it cures the problem. If it doesn't, we can always amend it and make the fine much higher.
Okay.
Because right now, that would be a substantial change if we change the amount, correct,
It would,
Bob?
yes.
And we want to get artist walk relief right away. So let's get artist walk relief. Let's, again, assuming the committee wants to pass as a whole, let's pass it. Chief, you'll update us on whether or not it's cured the problem. And if it hasn't, then we'll revisit the fine amount. You want to have some conversation? Or you?
I'm not trying to be hard-nosed, I'm just trying to stop it.
Where's this at start?
You can just go revisit it every day, so it's $50 a day. Parking fee is really what it comes down to. And then if we have to change it to make it more substantial, we will do that. But what I'm saying is, each day, we can go back and retake it if that's the issue.
I hear you, I'm just,
Okay.
We can change it. Let's
It's a-
see if it solves the
and I
problem. All
apologize,
we're
it's
trying
the
to do is
business
resolve
side
an
of it.
issue. And by you guys passing this tonight, or the committee passing it tonight, it resolves the issue, or at least it gets us moving forward to resolve the issue. And that's all we're asking for.
Greg, Greg, for instance, if this goes through tonight, you put a sign up tomorrow, then, what is the
Friday.
time frame?
Say it again?
Friday,
Friday. It's got to
Friday
be
you can put a
advertised
sign
again,
up.
correct?
Friday.
Friday.
Okay.
Thank you.
Committee?
so moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Hopkins,
Second.
second by Mr. Cheek. Rita, can we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and adopted.
All right, we'll move on to D, ordinance 2009-2022. This is an ordinance amending Exhibit A, Section 1, Article 2 of Chapter 66 of the Code of the Township of Hamilton, providing for the maximum number of employees, fire administrator reporting to the township administrator. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to speak on this matter? Mr. Kerrigan, please.
Again, this is a very bad idea because this will increase the employee count, and I'm against that. What we should do here in the township is make the government smaller.
And I think this committee has been doing that, Jim. We're trying everything we can to make government more efficient, make it smaller and easier for people to interact with it, so.
It's a bad idea.
I'm sorry?
It's a very bad idea.
I appreciate your comments, Jim.
How many employees do we have anyway? 128, I think, 129, something like that?
I think we're going to be
20-something.
back up to full staff after,
Yeah.
assuming tonight's agenda goes through, we'll finally be back up to full staff. All right, thank you, Jim. Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion.
So moved.
I have a motion. Mrs. Link?
Second.
Second, Mr. Cheek. Read a roll call, please. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
I can do one if you want,
Yeah, please.
to close for public hearing.
No,
yes.
you don't need to do it. All in
Okay.
favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Committee, what's your pleasure?
Motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Cheek,
Second.
second by Mrs. Link. Rita, could I get a roll call now, please?
Sure. Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Although I'm happy that the job description was agreed to by the various chiefs, I don't think this was done properly, and I voted no just to introduce it, so I'm going to vote no now.
Mayor Kane?
I think it's a great idea. It's brought to us by the DCA report. We have buy-in from all the chiefs. They actually helped write it, and I vote yes.
4 yes, 1 no. The ordinance is adopted.
All right, we'll move on to 5, introduction of ordinance. The public hearing will be held September 19th of 2020. First, we have ordinance 2010-2022. This is an ordinance amending Exhibit A, Section 1, Article 2 of Chapter 66 of the Code of the Township of Hamilton, providing for the maximum number of employees. Joe, this one's,
Yes, this actually cleans up a lot of our titles and positions in planning, zoning, industrial, and now economic commission, and removes old court positions as well that's unneeded, so it cleans up our personnel.
committee, any questions?
Joe, does this add people, or this is just cleaning up?
This actually reduces,
Okay,
because we're
so
cleaning up
to-
our court positions that are no longer operable.
All right, so to Jim's point, how many employees do we have at Hamilton Township right now?
I would have to get an exact count
Give me
through HRs. I would,
Give me a round.
124 to 126 right now.
Okay. And this takes it down?
This takes it down because we're removing positions that we no longer have within the court system, correct?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Committee, additional questions, comments?
Yeah, I just had a question about civilian evidence technician. What is that? $60,000.
Chain of
Can you
custody.
explain that to me?
That is a position that's held within our police department, and it is the individual that catalogs, Chief, you can correct me if I'm wrong, catalogs, inventories, and keeps the care and custody of anything that's booked into evidence, correct?
It's a chain of custody position that you need for any kind
Now,
of.
now,
When evidence is brought in, it's turned over, and it's cataloged, and it's inventoried, and they make sure that no one gains access to it without the proper authorization.
now, is he responsible for, someone, I know this sounds really ridiculous, but breaks into that evidence room and takes something out? Who's responsible for that?
Detective?
Chief of police.
Chief, if you want to answer that?
I know this happened in another community, and the person was fired because they did not, keep that evidence sacred.
I'm sorry, what was the exact question?
If someone decided to break in and the evidence room and steal something that maybe,
So
Very
right
important.
now, currently, there's, well, technically, if we had a evidence custodian in that position right now, there's me, the detective sergeant, and that evidence custodian that are responsible for the items that are in the property and evidence rooms. So if anything goes missing, stolen, or what have you, it's our responsibility, and we would be put on the hook for it. It gets audited every year, so, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just happened in another
I
community
can't get into the
that,
security of those rooms, but
I don't think
it's not going to happen, yeah.
Okay, well,
Okay.
you're fully confident.
Yes.
Very good. I just heard this over the weekend that someone who was in the municipality, it's not around here, but they were very much, you know, they were the head of the police department.
I don't have to worry anything about it.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. I'll make sure they stay in Daytona, Florida, and that you stay here. Okay.
All right, committee, additional questions or comments? Hearing none? Hearing none?
I'll motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Cheek.
I'll second.
I have a second by Ms. Hopkins. Read a roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Batali?
Yes.
Mayor King?
Yes.
All yes and introduced.
And then we'll move on to 5B, ordinance 2011-2022. This is an ordinance to amending Article 2 of Chapter 66 of the Code of the Township of Hamilton, providing for annual salary increases and increases in salary maximums for certain employees.
This is,
Joe, I'm going to call on you for that one again, bud.
Yes, no problem. If you look at the ordinance, what this does is set the ranges in front of you for all the specific employees, so you'll see the minimum and maximum range right in front of you.
Joe, on that Exhibit A, I noticed we've got the municipal court judge and the court administrator. Are they in there in red? Does that mean they're coming out?
They're coming out, yes. If you look at this, this is the clean one,
Thank
cleans
you.
it all up. Yeah, so that just shows what's being amended, if you will.
Thank you, thank you.
So everything in red, Joe, is coming
Being
off?
removed, correct, yes.
And yellow is,
I have, let's see.
we explained this.
Yellow is,
okay, got it. Committee? Questions, comments, motion?
Now, what is our count then for employees?
I'm sorry, Judy.
She asked what the cap was on employees. At what point do you have to,
How many do we have?
Joe said earlier, he believes
it's
right
one-
now, depending on what happens with the meeting tonight, we're between
I
one
think
and
124, 126, right around there. Yeah. I would have to double check with our HR and see where we are. We have a lot of moving balls, if you will.
And to be clear, this is not changing employee headcount, this is only cleaning up the positions and the titles. So, but unfortunately, it falls under that same ordinance, so that has to be read continually.
Okay.
Committee, what's your pleasure? Please.
This is-
so moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Hopkins,
Second.
second by Mr. Cheek. Read a roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Batali?
Yes.
Mayor King?
Yes.
All yes and introduced.
All right.
This is-
We'll move on to 6, award of bid contracts change orders. A, resolution authorizing acceptance of proposal for survey, design, and construction management services for 2022 road program not to exceed $71,000. This is Mr. Malfi's bill for Prague, Pontiac, Franklin, Tunney, and Linden.
And Mr. Murphy, these are all on the road improvement plan?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Unfortunately, even approving this evening, it does not look like these roads would get paved until the spring, correct?
We're going to still try to get these things out as soon as we can. Yeah, we're going to push it and get it done.
The faster the better.
That's
Committee?
good.
So moved.
Good.
I have a motion by Ms. Hopkins, It's the road program. I will second it.
Second, yeah, I was gonna second.
Let's get asphalt down. So we have a motion and a second. Can you get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes,
Mr. Vitale?
I'm going to abstain since Tunney Avenue is literally right around the corner from my house.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
4 yes, 1 abstention, motion carries.
All right, we'll move on to B, resolution to renew the interlocal services agreement with the Township of Hamilton Township Board of Education for solid waste collection services for 2022 and 2023, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the same.
Motion.
Motion,
Second.
second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
yes,
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have 7A through O. Anyone that want anything taken out to be looked at? If there are none, I'll entertain a motion for 7A through O.
Motion.
Motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
aye,
Opposed? Ayes have it. Move on to 8, personnel. This is a resolution appointing Thalia Martinez as a clerk 4 in the Office of Community Development at $37,807.61 annually, effective 9/12/2022, with additional compensation upon receipt of Planning and Zoning Administration certificate, employment contingent upon successful completion of employment physical and background check. As you know, we're down in that office. This is backfilling one of the positions. Committee, what's your pleasure?
Joe, what is your recommendation? You interviewed this person?
I did not interview this person, actually.
didn't?
No, I did not. This was an interview for the community planning.
Oh, okay.
And,
But Erin did?
yes.
Did I hear from her?
Well, would you like to speak to it?
What was your question?
Yeah, just, you know, in interviewing her, what were her strong points, and why do you think she's going to work well in that area?
She was, so I interviewed her, Debbie, our zoning officer, and the director of HR. And she was a very impressive young woman. She came in, she asked a lot of questions, which is always a good sign.
Mhm.
Her communication skills are on point. She has a background in, she's coming from the Center of Family Services. So she has a lot of experience in dealing with difficult constituents. People are at their worst when they come to her. So she does. She's coming from a place that provided rental assistance and utility assistance for people that are about to be evicted or have their utilities shut out. So she dealt with people on their worst days. So I think she's going to be able to handle constituents well and diffuse difficult situations. And like I said, she is a bright young woman who really communicated well. We were all very, very impressed with her.
Good. Okay.
Does she meet all the minimum requirements
Yes,
for the job
she
position?
does.
Committee, any other questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Hopkins, second by Mrs. Link. Read a roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes,
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
All right, we'll move on to B, resolution to compensate Kim Rullis in the amount of $250 for acting as Historic Preservation Commission Secretary for the month of June.
Yeah.
I have a motion.
Moved, yep.
Second.
I have a second. Any questions on the motion? Not, Rita, can we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Patali?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
We'll move on to C, resolution appointing Chantel Pollock as executive assistant to the administrator, excuse me, at $52,000 annually, effective 9/14/22. Employment is contingent upon successful completion of employment, physical, and background check.
Now, Joe, you did interview her.
I did, yes, ma'am.
Can you give some aspects that you liked?
Absolutely. I'm very excited, actually, that we had the chance to interview this person. This person actually applied for the community planning office, and this person put out a great interview, so much that it was recommended that we should interview for this position. We then did so, brought her in. She has an extensive public sector service background. Again, she worked for an NGO, non-government organization, where she provided public assistance through applications, difficult phone calls, constituent services. She's very poised and calm and quiet, and it came out as confidence, and I think she's going to be a valuable asset to diversify our workforce as well.
Very good. Thank you.
Welcome.
Does she meet all the minimum qualifications?
Without a doubt.
Committee, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion, please. Motion by Mrs. Link,
Second.
second by Ms. Hopkins. Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Patali?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
We'll move on to D, resolution assigning Chris Tilley additional duties and responsibilities and increasing his salary by $4,000 annually effective 9/7/22.
Motion.
I have a motion.
Second.
Second, any questions or comments on the motion? Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Patali?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
And we'll move on to E, resolution to appoint George R.B. Trimble Jr. as a full-time deputy tax assessor at a salary of $55,000 with a salary increase of $5,000 after 1 year of employment, effective 9/14/22.
And I have just one question.
Of course.
Joe, did Bill Johnson get a chance to interview Mr. Trumbull?
He and the HR director actually did.
And they
yes.
selected him?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
And he meets the minimum qualifications.
Yes, this role is slightly different than the other, where you do need the certification from the state. You're not allowed to be appointed without it, so he does have the certification, he does have the background, and he will be an absolute asset to this department.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I will entertain a motion, please.
So moved?
Motion by Mrs. Link,
Second.
second by Ms. Hopkins. Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Patali?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
And lastly, we have F. This is to accept the resignation of Joseph Miller, Class C, Historic Preservation Commission member, term ending 12/31/22.
We appreciate Mr. Miller's service on the Historic Preservation Commission, and I would move that we accept his resignation.
Joe, could we also get a thank you letter out to him for serving? Thank you.
Yep.
Committee, any other questions or comments? I have a motion by Ms.
Second.
Hopkins,
Second?
second by Ms. Link. Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Patali?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
All right, 9, approvals, minutes, regular meeting minutes of August 15th, 2022.
So moved.
Motion,
Second?
second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? B, minutes, executive session, meeting minutes of August 15th, 2022.
So moved.
Motion,
Second?
second. Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Next, we have the bill list, total $7,540,018.09.
Ooh, I have a question.
Sure.
Do we have a total cost on Nat's Night Out? Joe, do we have a total cost on Nat's Night Out yet?
I have not gotten that report. I believe the police chief did have that. Hasn't been reported.
Chief,
yet.
Are we out on total cost for Nat's Night Out? Yep.
The total cost to the taxpayers is $4,645.88.
4,600,
Well, we took in donations of $17,720. And so far, we spent $15,363, but there's a couple more bills that we're waiting to come in.
so roughly under 5,000 is all it costs the taxpayers?
$4,645.88.
And that
All the
includes-
information everybody gave me correct.
Is that's Public Works, that's,
Public Works, police, and some.
All the overtime and everything?
Miscellaneous things, like giveaways and stuff.
wow. That's overtime and everything.
That's overtime and everything. So depending on what employees take what overtime details, obviously their hourly rate changes. So we anticipated spending more than that, but because of the individuals that signed up, we ended up spending less.
Okay, so I have twofold question. Do we now feed that into a budget? Because I noticed when we were doing the budgeting, we didn't budget for events. So we'll be budgeting now for events going forward? I'm assuming that's,
So we had that discussion when we first brought up National Night Out, when we wanted it down at Gaskell Park. So I believe the mayor and I spoke about it. I might even have mentioned it during one of the meetings, that if this was successful and it went off without a hitch and there wasn't any issues, that I would like to have it there every year moving forward. And if that was the case, then I would ask the committee to approve it in their budget every year.
I have to tell you, I think that we do enough as a township on these level of efforts, like the wine festival and stuff like that, that we need to be budgeting for events, and we're not doing it. We're not budgeting for seniors.
So the Halloween parade, I believe, is budgeted every year in the last several years, I should say. I know that the Rotary and the Merchants Association paid for it years ago and things of that nature. All I would say is that it was 46,000 or 4,600 this year, depending on who signs up. Like, we should probably budget like $8,000 just to make sure that we have a buffer, that it doesn't exceed or we
So
don't.
then, my question
Sure.
is, and I apologize for this,
Okay.
so if the 4,600, we didn't budget it, and then we spent it because we needed to. 'cause
So,
it's a
so
great
this
night
is,
out.
this was the deal when we first brought this up, that Brett Knoll and I, the Public Works Director, would take it out of our overtime budget for this year,
Okay,
okay, with the hopes that it was going to be successful, that next year you guys would say, you guys did a great job. It's a community event. It was good for the whole community that you would budget it, just like we do the Halloween parade.
okay.
Chief, could we get a copy? Could you provide Joe with a copy so that we could, Finance Committee can review that with Cynthia, so that we
I
can
can
go?
type something
We're
up
already
for you.
working on
Oh, yeah.
next year budget items, so could we get a copy of that so that we can look at it, and we'll make sure that it's,
I'll type something up
Would you
tomorrow.
mind if you shared it with all the committee? Because as we
Absolutely.
move forward on other events, we could use yours as our cheat sheet to make sure we've covered everything.
Yep.
So that would
I
be very
can,
helpful
I'll
for
send it
us.
to Joe, and he can send it to all you guys.
Thank you.
thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Well, I'm sorry I got us way late.
All right, so we still have, did you get your questions answered, Ms.
I
Hopkins?
did, thank you.
Are there any other questions regarding the bill list?
Move.
I have a motion.
Second,
Second, Rita, could I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
Oh, yes, and carried.
All right, we'll move on to reports. Mr. Administrator.
Yes, sir. So the township continues to hold meetings to engage current and prospective partners as part of economic development, which we've seen tonight. We're working on parcels and such as the landfill, Wheaton's, and Duberson to improve properties and other township properties for land sales. We're ongoing with contract negotiations, And the state did issue a large forthcoming increase to state health benefits. It's going to affect everybody, so that's something we're going to have to have a greater conversation as we move forward, not only with our employees, but contracts as well.
The numbers are staggering, aren't they?
Upwards of 24% increase, yes, statewide. So we don't know what that's going to be until they release it.
Hopefully, the governor's trying to shock us, and he's going to drop that in half and claim credit for it, because that's a whopping increase.
Massive, yes. You know, it's going to be seen statewide, so it's not just us, it's going to be a problem statewide, so we all have to address it.
Part of what we did tonight is we did authorize under the consent agenda, we authorized a resolution opposing the proposed increases to the state health benefit program. So us, along with many other municipalities, are voicing our discontent with the governor and the decision to allow this to happen. So hopefully, with everyone doing it, hopefully it'll gain some traction.
Yeah, absolutely. As you know, we continue dialogue with the chiefs and representatives of the fire department for volunteer recruitment, in addition to finalizing the fire administrator job duties. We continue to move forward with our ability to address maintenance on problem-prone properties and working with departments for training and implementation for abandoned properties through the pro-champs. We finalized the MUA, and we're working on improving our office and prepping our offices for that. And we're moving forward with hire. So thank you very much. We're back up to staffing levels and maintaining efficiency and effectiveness in the borough. So thank you very much, Township.
Thank you, Jeff. Mr. Solicitor.
I have nothing to report.
Engineer?
Just two focus points, Leapy Field and roads. So that's it.
Where are we at with our clubhouse?
Actually, it's moving along really well. We've got the parking lot laid out. I've got the design laid out. The lighting plan is laid out. Stormwater management is taken care of, and just putting the finishing touches on and get it out to bid.
So, but in June, we were looking at July 28th. Where are we at now with getting the approval?
Hopefully, by the end of this month, we'll have it ready to go to bid, end of September.
So what is actually holding us up right now?
Really just trying to get the final details on the actual building itself. Because obviously that, we have an architect involved with that, so we're trying to finish that up. But it will have the 2 concession stands, 2 separate areas, men's and ladies' bathroom, and a storage room.
Were we not working with an architect when we started the project? I mean, did we wait until this point to start working with an architect?
No,
I'm
we
just
actually-
confused why it's holding us up now.
Well, we weren't really engaged at that point until we actually got the proposal approved by committee, and then we got our architect involved.
I was under the assumption the building was a boilerplate and the architect just had to do footings. How could?
That's not what I've had from the beginning now.
I was under the assumption that we were copying other buildings to keep the cost down for the architect.
Well, as far as the style of the building, yes, but it still has to be put out to bid, and you still need the same plans for them to bid on. It'd still be a pretty basic building, but they do have to
But
put their
he
stamp on it.
wasn't supposed to reinvent the building. He was just supposed to use.
No,
what
he
we
actually
already
is
had.
not. We're actually reusing and kind of using what we did for Underhill Park and using that same scenario. Just unfortunately, she was busy and just hasn't got it completely done for us.
Okay, because I was under the assumption that there was another, I mean, let's face it, you get a set of blueprints that comes from Manahawkin or something, all you have to do is design the footing and foundation for that building.
All right.
And I thought that's what we were doing.
She still has to put it together for a bid package that we can put out
Yeah,
to
the
bid,
bid
right?
package, not the
Right.
building.
No, the building's pretty much designed. It's really putting the touches on for the actual bid package.
Okay.
She just has been busy and backlogged, just like everybody else.
Who is she,
unfortunately.
just so we know?
Tracy Craig.
Your office?
No, Tracy Craig is a consultant with us, but we don't have architects on staff.
I mean,
And actually, Steve, my partner, had worked with her on various other projects, and that's why we chose to work with her.
all right, so what is our time frame now?
I'm planning on the end of September, this will be out to bid, as well as the handful of roads for the Phase 1.
Anything else, Joe?
That's it.
All right. Township Committee, Mrs. Link, please.
Yeah, I wanted to still find out about that area that was planted with moonflowers, and I haven't seen anyone remove everything from there and
So
rebuild.
at this point, the contractor has not been paid for any of that, and I will not release any money until I know for sure that is completed and done.
Can he give you a time that he's going to do that before it starts regenerating plant?
Actually on the punch list for him to do it. Main thing is, we're not paying him until it's done right.
Okay. Okay.
We have that endorsement or that power, to tell him no, until we get it done right.
Yeah, I want to add, of course, there was a press release for a nonprofit to work on Duberson redevelopment. And I think that this is a project that will include 30 trustees and be done in a bipartisan fashion. It is something that would be monumental to our community to have a performance arts location and also include other businesses such as a restaurant. Let me see, it's a place for, the academy would also support local culinary students with fully operational restaurant, rooftop dining, and so on. It would really create a great asset. Now, I know it's going to take a lot of work. There are other communities in New Jersey that have done this, and we're looking to, the committee would be, well, we're all part of the committee that is involved in this redevelopment. So let's see how it materializes. I understand, I talked to Ms. Green, that there is a lot of, we have about 27 people who have expressed interest. Is there more that?
You get a couple more every day.
You get a couple more every day. So it is something that we really need in this community. It would be a great asset. And I feel as though if we can all get behind it, get involved in being a trustee, that we will make a monumental change to downtown Mays Landing. So that's all.
Nice, Mrs. Link. Mr. Talley.
Night of Lights was a success. Every year, we always say we want more boats, but we don't seem to get them. But still, it was a successful evening. When I drove down along the bulkhead was full of people, and just a great event for our town. And every year, it seems to get a little bit bigger, a little bit more people show up. We just can't seem to get the boats out there, but hopefully that changes in the near future. Art in the Park is coming up. Art in the Park will be the 17th, correct? Saturday the 17th. Always a good time. Pray for good weather. We have boat races coming up on Lake Lenape this weekend. Winding River Boating Association racing both days from about noon till 4 or 5. Come on down. It's free to watch at the Cove. You can watch at the Cove. Lake Lenape West, you can see from there. And one great thing that happened there is the Greater Egg Harbor Regional food truck will be there, and that is manned by the students from the culinary department, and that's Oakcrest Magnet, one of their magnet programs. So they were able to get them down there, get the school involved, and they were very excited that they were asked for that, and they'll be there Saturday and Sunday, I believe, from 9 till 5. So come down, grab some food from the kids at Oakcrest, well, I'll say Greater Egg Harbor Regional, and watch the boat races. And that's, schools are open. Pay attention, keep an eye out for the kids. It was, coming home today, it was amazing how many parents were standing outside waiting for their kids to get off the bus with the umbrellas. And I'm thinking, man, when we were kids, my mom was never outside waiting for me to come home. I came to the house all the time. So it's pretty neat to see that. It's nice to see that. Kind of wish I had that, but oh well, it is what it is. But please be careful out there. The buses are back out there. Please be careful. Make yourself a little extra time in the morning when you're going to work, and keep an eye out for the kids. And of course, with school being open, you got Oakcrest football You got Oakcrest soccer, field hockey, all those sports. If you get a chance to get down there and watch an Oakcrest football game, you got the Lakers, you got the Knights, all kinds of stuff going on with football this time of year. So get out and support our local guys. And that's about it. Reagan, see you soon. Maddie, hope to see you soon. Love you guys.
Very nice. Ms. Hopkins.
Oh, it's my turn. Okay. First, I would really like to commend Aaron and Joe. You know, been in town 30 years, been on committee 9 months. You got over a dozen things you're working in the redevelopment, from the American Legion building to Columbia Care, to the landfill, to Cotton Mill, to the Trophy Park, to the, it's just, the list goes on and on and on. It seems like everything that was at a standstill in the Hamilton Township area has come alive under you two. And I don't know how you're eating and sleeping and getting it all done, but my hat's off to you. And along with that, Mayor Kane Ritchie, this is a phenomenal list. I know you guys have been heavily involved in it. Is there any way that we can take this status and publish it somewhere on Facebook? Because I constantly get pinged, most of us do, with what's happening with Cotton Mill, what's happening with the racetrack, what's happening with this. Is there any harm, any foul? I mean, there's some stuff we can't talk about because we're under NDA, and I get that. But this stuff is exciting, and it's something that we haven't talked about in town, and I just think that the people would really appreciate it. Can we do that? Can we put it out on maybe the mayor's page or something? Just kind of give us a status, because I know it's a lot, and it's phenomenal. Thank you. That's really all I had. You guys are doing a great job. Thank you.
We appreciate
you.
that. Thank you.
Mr. Cheek.
I must say, the start of the last 2 meetings have been great, with the Flying Knights and then the street hockey teams last meeting, all excelling at their sports. It's great to see the kids excelling like that. Trophy Park was a compliment right on top of all that. And as Carl said, we have the Knights and the Lakers all starting up between cheerleading and football. And I happen to go to the Lakers with grandchildren, and it is fun to watch. And then also, I told you last time, me, a daughter, and 3 grandchildren, we broke the world record for number of kayaks. Poland had 330, United States had over 1,000. So we'll be in the Guinness Book of World Record.
Great job.
And that's it.
That's it? All right, very nice. Couple things that I was asked to mention. One, the Walking for Wellness is back. I believe it is up on the sign in town. Runs for 6 Saturdays, September 17th, October 22nd, from 9 to 10 a.m. Meeting on the bike path in front of Woodview Estates. That's at 5030 Unami Boulevard. It's just designed to get you out together and meeting and walking and getting happy. So grab your walking shoes and join 9 a.m. Saturday starting September 17th. And one more announcement. The ACUA pickup scheduled for the household hazardous waste drop-off scheduled for September 10th is now expected to be significantly impacted by the Ironman race. And residents are encouraged to hold their items until the November 5th cycle, if they can. So there are 2 public service items. I had the pleasure of meeting David Boateng. He is the owner of Legends Boxing and Fitness in the Festival Mall. He had a tournament last Saturday night, which I was honored to be part of, sanctioned by the U.S. Boxing Association right here in Hamilton Township. It was I think there was 11 total matches. Some of these young men and women are training for the Olympics. He's looking to. It was a great event, extremely well attended. There were hundreds of people there. I thank the chief. We had our officers there, but the crowd was fantastic. Each bout went off without a hitch. And he's looking, Aaron, he's going to reach out to you. I spoke with him yesterday. He has reached out to the festival. He's looking to do he wants to do an outside one, sanctioned by the U.S. Boxing Association. So he's speaking to the owners of the mall where he's at, and he would like to see about getting that done. So it was a great time. supporting one of our local business owners. Great guy, and really, really nice event. With that, I have nothing else. So at this time, I'll open it up to you folks. Anyone in the public wishes to speak? Mr. Will, please.
I don't need this mic. Can you hear me up here?
State your name, because we don't know you.
My name is Bill Will, and Charlie, you say you're 22 years in the township. What about 67 years in the township of Hamilton as a firefighter of this wonderful area?
We certainly appreciate that, Bill.
I might have missed it earlier, but most important, on Sunday is 9/11. They're having a program here at the park. It's going to start
7 p.m.
at 7 p.m. That's for all the residents. Let's don't forget 9/11.
Point, Bill.
Now changing the subject. First of all, thank you for having me up here. I came tonight, my neighbor called me on the phone about this new project, and I'm always open ears to hear what's going on in our community. Sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's bad. As a firefighter, my ears kind of flipped when I heard about the fire department. We're going to have a road. And I sat there, the road, the fire department. We haven't even discussed this gentleman, where he's going to be. I sat here watching his presentation. And I was trying to see it. Was it Pomona Road? Was it Prague Avenue? Was it Leipzig Avenue? And as I stand here, I have, with this project, and ladies and gentlemen, use that breath, as you make this step forward, this is a real big, giant step. The township themselves, at the Leapy track, we're going to spend a lot of money to improve that facility. But if this gentleman and that project goes through, the township could save money because you don't have to build it there. It's a mile from where you're going to be. But getting back to ladies and gentlemen, you've got to have a heck of a responsibility to we, as the taxpayers and the residents of the township of Hamilton. We always get it fouled up. They say Hamilton Township. We all know that Hamilton Township is near Mercer County, North Jersey. But we take our pride in saying the Township of Hamilton in Atlantic County. Please, what you do, watch it, do it. I know you guys will do a damn good job for the benefit of this township. Thank you very much.
Mr. Will, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Please.
Leapy, and I have Leapy Farms, and I do apologize, I came late to the meeting, so I unfortunately did not get a chance to see this presentation. But a couple things that do concern me is I wish somebody could provide more clarity as to what roads paper roads they do want to improve, because as you know, the paper roads such as Hortensia, and I guess the other one would be Spruce, the road behind the Cologne Firehouse, we own property and we actively farm all the way back through Prague. Has that been thought of or been on the table in your discussions as far as how we're going to be able to continue to do this process? And also, on our farm, as well as across the street by Leipzig, that's also wetlands as well. I mean, we can only do so much as well farming the property. And I just wanted to know if you could provide a little bit more clarity on that.
Lisa, you didn't get a chance to hear the beginning of it. First of all, what happened tonight was a presentation. It was a presentation of a gentleman that looks to buy a piece of property, close to closing on it, that would like to do this. He's come in for one workshop. At that workshop, to clarify what you heard, at that workshop, there were suggestions made by members of the planning board and professionals that were there that access to Leipzig from that property would be great for dispersal of traffic. Another question, one thing was, Mr. Now has offered some type of a emergency management type structure on that property. one of the suggestions was made that the proximity to Cologne was as such, especially if they go out to Leipzig, that maybe it would be better investing with our local fire department than putting up another facility. Those are just preliminary talks, and this is, when I tell you, the earliest stages of it, but if he's able to do his project moving forward, he wants to contribute to public safety, which he should, because he's looking to bring a lot of people here to this town. So those things are going to be worked out, and as Mr. Wills said, I can guarantee you this is going to get a very good look. It's going to take time for these approvals to come across, if they get approved at all, and his biggest hurdle right now is still going to be with Pinelands.
I'm all for improvement. I have no problems with that. But also being an active farmer and then possibly having an interruption through a paper road that's only 25 feet through our farm from Prague down to Leipzig, would we be notified or at least brought into the stages of what the intent would be?
For him to do it, there are properties which he would have to acquire. So there is, I want to be very clear, meaning he would have to go out into the open market and purchase those properties for whatever the fair market value is.
Right. I mean, I think what I'm trying to say is I want to stay farming.
Of course.
And we own both sides.
A little bit of history there.
Yeah, just a tiny. But we farm both sides. And that's my concern, is now having a possible throughway. And again, I'm not trying to be against any improvement in Hamilton Township, but it is a great concern, and that's my question to you. Has this been presented to this gentleman? Was it something that, he's aware of, that there's an active farm and it's being farmed, et cetera? And, improving this street.
Aaron, I believe I know exactly where she's talking about, but if you could, you're listening to this, when you do it tomorrow, if you would, does Aaron have your contact information?
Okay, yeah, I do.
Okay, so let us take a look of how the discussions went in the workshop and how it may impact what you're saying on the record right now. And would you be kind enough to reach out to her and let me know where that goes?
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else in the public that wishes to speak? Please, sir.
Good evening. My name is Mark Shanigan, 689 Park Road. I've been a volunteer firefighter for 20 years in this township. I want to applaud you guys for trying to figure out some new incentives for us. But when it's public safety, you never want to be behind the eight ball, and I feel like we are. Some of the incentives you're going through have some good ideas, but some of the points also, you're looking at these don't really affect people of all age generation. You get a 65-year-old man, this man still, every day he's on the radio coming to calls. And I'm not making that up, every day. I think you're going to have to try to appease a large group of people, and I hope you guys really take the time to consider that.
Open for ideas. That's why we're here. So we're open for ideas. So if you have any, please reach out to me.
I would like to get, yeah. Okay. Also, like some of the stuff, if you're not a resident of the township, but you're still a volunteer firefighter here, would they, all this stuff I'd like you to take into consideration. But we are, as a township and public safety, we are behind on the eight ball, I believe, in my opinion. This is all my opinion. But I appreciate you guys now taking, the incentives, and I know the guys all appreciate it, and I just hope, you just keep an open mind with a lot of stuff, because it's not one or two people. There's a large group of people here that we're losing. We're losing people every year. And it's not you guys, it's not the fire chiefs. The state is making the training that much harder, and to keep coming out, like the LoSAP program is a point program. Well, what about the guy that works overnight that misses every night call? Or the guy that can't come to the firehouse Wednesday, Thursday night? Now they're not getting that. They're not getting the LoSAP or whatever with the new point system.
Gotcha.
That you guys are talking.
This is one aspect that you heard tonight, and I appreciate your compliments on the committee looking into ways to help maintain and recruit volunteers. This is just one aspect that we came up with tonight. I think there's a lot more to come, but we wanted to at least start the process and get it moving. So again, we have an open line of communication with all the chiefs. We continually ask them for input, and we're asking from yourself too. You can email me at mayor@Township of Hamilton or Mr. Kosecki, and any ideas. There's no dumb ideas. They might not get used, some of them,
Right.
but you may be thinking of something that we haven't thought of, so your input is asked for and would be appreciated.
And I want to thank you for clarifying the LoSAP thing.
Well, I just know how things go on social media, and the next thing, that would have been a big dark secret, so.
There was a lot of people upset with that, and I said that, that just don't sound right. But I just want to thank you guys for taking that into consideration.
Thank you.
You got it. Thank you. Anyone else? Ma'am, you've been waiting patiently. Well, you want us to try to lower that for you? Chuck, could you see if you?
Thank you. My name is Danielle French, and I own a horse farm on Route 40, very close to where Landis Avenue forks out. A lot of you might have been past it. I'm sure most everybody has. There are a lot of horse farms around there, but mine is one everybody sees from the road. There is a nuisance property 2 properties over from me, directly across from Landis Avenue, 6825. For the last 5 years, my husband and myself have been living a nightmare due to this property. It's a continual onslaught of dogs coming over, running loose from that property, and they try to attack my horses. I've done the police route. I even tried to file against the people tonight, but they said they had no forms that I could fill out at the police station, and there was nobody, supervisor there for me to talk to. The property has recently changed hands, I've just found out, and the dogs are still coming from now the new property owner. It has forced my husband and myself to go armed. I have to carry a sidearm or a shotgun many days. We can't even go out on our trails on our own land without fear of being attacked by these dogs. If one of my horses gets run through the fence, God forbid what's going to happen on Harding Highway, a state highway, with a horse running frantic from dogs. And if that happens, not only will my horse probably get killed, people could be killed. I will be sued. The township is going to be sued too. I can almost guarantee it, because I have gone to police, who have been up till tonight very helpful, but they can only do so much. The court system has not worked out very well for me, because they just keep putting the case off and off and off. I have one case they haven't heard. It's been from July or April 21st, 2021. I have filed so many complaints. Next to this property, 6825, is Beacon Avenue. I would like to know if the township could maybe put up some kind of fence down Beacon, and maybe, like this other lady, Miss Hopkins was saying, put a lien against her property. And I don't doubt they're going to make it a rental property, because they own the property right beside it, 6839. It's been a nightmare for 5 years. I was thrilled when I heard new people were buying it. But now it's the new people's dogs. I've had the police out there twice now already. It just never stops. And almost, I would say 90% of the problems come from that property. It just never quits. You don't know what it's like having to carry a gun outside.
I'm listening to you, and I feel for you. Chief, is there anything you might want to add to this? Okay. I mean, animal control, maybe? Is there?
Well, I know where the dogs live. I was able to see the dog go through the woods. I saw exactly which property, 6825.
Listen, we hear you loud and clear. We have it on the record. Why don't you take a few moments, and I'm not trying to interrupt you, why don't you take a few moments and have a conversation with our chief in the back, and let's see if we can get something to help you out with, okay?
But I just want to make it clear, the court system has not been helpful. If the people don't show up in the past, it just gets postponed more than a year. And meanwhile, the dogs come on a regular basis.
Can't help you there, because that's a product of bail reform. So that I can't help you with. That's from the state.
Well, what about the fence idea?
But, well, I see our solicitor heard you. Ms. Crean heard you. We heard you. Let us go back and digest your comments. But why don't we try to get you some relief with the chief right now and see if we can do that, okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Applicant? All right, there you go.
So I wanted to bring the committee up to speed on what's been somewhat of a pet project of mine with Gravelly Run. I honestly can't remember if I've talked to you guys about this before, but 2 years ago, kind of at the height of COVID, I started spending a lot more time in there. It's a great place to run with my dogs. Unfortunately, it's also a haven for all kinds of illicit behavior, and dumping has gotten really bad back there. So I took it upon myself. I started to work with the state, reached out to the DEP. This is all Hamilton Preserve. It's 2,000 acres of our township's property. Collectively, I think within the township, there's over 15,000 acres that's state-owned land, so it's upwards of like 18% of our township is state-owned property. So anyway, took it upon myself to start working with the DEP to understand how do we get it cleaned up, who's responsible, have some accountability, attended some of their meetings, learned a little bit about their org chart, I'll call it, or their hierarchy. So with the Hamilton Preserve specifically, it's a little bit of a I don't want to say afterthought, but you have the DEP at the top, which, you know, they report into Governor Murphy, right? And so then you've got your state parks, so they get the most attention. Then you've got your WMAs, which is like what we have out at Makepeace. And then you have another branch called the Natural Lands Trust. That's where the Hamilton Preserve falls in, and that is the least resourced piece because it doesn't fall under State Park Police, and it doesn't fall under Conservation Office, you know, Fish and Game that handles the WMAs. So anyway, I learned a whole lot. I found out through their budgeting process that they actually allocate $10,000 a year for Hamilton Preserve, but it's not been deployed. So that's when I sort of really got involved and said, okay, how do we hold the state accountable to keep our township piece of land as good as some of the other things that they do? So why this piece of land is important, it's bordered by the Hess School. It's bordered by Ocean Heights Avenue, Summers Point, Mays Landing Road. It's kind of the gateway into the town for people coming from Egg Harbor Township. And on the other side, which is getting to be a bigger part of our conversation, is the bike path. You mentioned it tonight, Woodview and back there. So it's accessed from a couple different places. It's actually also accessed off Babcock Road. So I did a lot of work. I got a lot of people involved. We've had a lot of cleanups. I'm kind of bummed because a lot of the people that have helped me get to where we are now, they've already had to leave. So we had a really good cleanup on March 26th. I give a lot of credit to Clean Communities. Brett Knoll was awesome. He gave me some resources from Public Works. Chief Sambrone gave us some resources as far as traffic control. Charlie Pritchard, who was here earlier, and unfortunately he has had to leave too, he did a huge piece for us and got us media coverage. So we got an article in the press about it. It was well attended. A lot of kids got credit for community service and hours, so on and so forth. So that was actually the biggest piece because that effort then got picked up and got attention from the Pinelands Preservation Alliance. They are running a bigger statewide initiative called Fix Our Parks. Because of the work I've been doing, they pulled me in, said, hey, we need somebody for District 2 specifically, because what our goal is to get, you're not going to strong-arm the DEP into changing their behaviors, into changing how they budget, but it can be a collective longer-term goal to get some changes from the top down, right? And so what the Fix Our Parks initiative is doing is working at the district level with the different administrators and elected officials. They've asked me to be kind of a District 2 representative. So why I'm sharing I have an ask, it's coming, I promise. So why I'm sharing all this with you is because I've already at this point had a couple meetings with Palestina's office representing this Fix Our Parks initiative. I've had a couple meetings with Joe Berg. I was just with him in person at the end of July. They're engaged in this. They understand it, they believe it. We want the state to be held accountable for maintaining the lands that they own. So I'm selfishly, specifically worried about the properties in Hamilton Township, and those have been sort of my pet project. So where the ask is coming from is I had a ton of support at the township level for the March 26th cleanup that we did. We're doing another one, and I say we, it's sort of me, on September 17th. No ask of resources from the township at this point because now I've got the Pinelands Preservation Alliance supporting this. They've contracted the dumpster from Acua. We're getting a 30 cubic yard dumpster. So I have some stuff. I'll just hand it to you before I go. But because I'm having meetings with Palestina and Joe Berg, I am obligated to let you guys know that these conversations are going on. This is Hamilton Township land, even though it's state-owned. We should be proud of it, and we should be asking the state to be accountable for the maintenance of it, and especially since they've budgeted a line amount of money towards stewardship and gates and getting dumpsters out there to clean it up. I just would want you guys to know the conversations that are happening and be proud of that part of our township. And if you run into Joe Berg or Vince Palestina and know that these conversations are going on, I owe that to you guys.
I appreciate that.
So
Thank you.
here's my two asks. On September 17th, I know Art in the Park, there's a couple other township events going on that day. If you're out and about, We're starting at 10 a.m. We have a 30 cubic yard dumpster coming. I have pictures in here of what has to be cleaned up. It's a lot, and there's commercial dumping going on in there. People are doing roof replacements, and it's getting dumped at Gravelly Run. And so there's a lot of heavy lifting that's going to happen that day. So I would just, if you're not familiar with Gravelly Run, this is the east side of the preserve. I'm sorry, the west side of the preserve. It's the pond, the sand pit, also known as a couple other things. Come out and see what's out there, and that we should be holding the state accountable for the cleanup of this property. It's a great resource. It's got a lot of biodiversity. There's tons of opportunity. Is it ever going to be as nice as the Agrippur Township Nature Preserve? Maybe within my lifetime, that would be an awesome goal to have, but at this point, I just want the state to have some accountability on the surveillance of it. I mean, it's terrible what's going on in there. My second ask is, and dang it, Chief Sambrone's not back in the room. The last time we did a big cleanup on March 26th, he gave me a resource that day. He gave us Sergeant Rizzo just for traffic control for safety, because a lot of people come out and volunteer their time. So he gave us an officer for a few hours just to help people cross the street safely. That was when we were on Harbor Avenue. This time, that corner at Ocean Heights and Summers Point, it can get a little sketchy. And so having the 30 cubic yard dumpster is going to take up a lot of what would be parking space for people. So I do anticipate people are going to be parking on the other side of the street. So I just wanted to see if I could ask him if he could give us a resource again for that day. And I do believe that, I think Sergeant Schnurr still has the key to the cable gate that's across the road there. So I wanted you guys to know what's going on. Hopefully you want to know about it. If I can continue to communicate what's going on with you, loop you in on the dialogue and the email exchanges we're having with Joe Berg and Vince Palestina's office. I guess my ask is, what level of involvement do you want, if any?
Well, what can we do as a governing body to help you? I mean, we appreciate what you're doing.
More at this point, just if you have any conversations with Don Guardian or Claire Swift or Joe Berg or Vince Palestina, know that they're in support of this, and they want to start looking into ways to gently and slowly and through a curated effort start to change, from the top down, what the DEP does and how they do it. And it's not something that's going to happen overnight. But again, I just be proud of the state-owned lands that are within this township, and want them to be accountable for the maintenance of it, and stewardship really is what it boils down to.
Well, we appreciate your efforts, first of all, and thank you for informing us, because I will be with all of them tomorrow night. So
Oh,
I
awesome.
will be more than happy to have that conversation. So.
Yeah, so, and Joe Berg's been great. Vince sort of, Senator Palestina sort of designated him as, hey, kind of run point on this for us. And he's been wonderful, and it's definitely a example of Rome wasn't built in a day. It's going to take a long, long time and a lot of effort, and I hope I live to see an improvement. But at the very least, they should be putting up some more substantial gates. You probably noticed there's stump barriers up now. That took a lot of effort, and me just being a squeaky wheel for them to finally do that. As ugly as they are, they actually did help pretty significantly with the amount of commercial dumping that's going on, because it just keeps trucks from being able to go back in there and shove everything off the back of their pickup truck. Quads will continue to pull them out of the way, and they'll tell you, oh, gates, they just cut them down, they break them down. Well, if they're done right, they're a better barrier.
You know my proximity there. I walk
I
through
do.
there. I walk through there and have
If
walked
you
through
look at the corner of Ocean Heights right now, it's
the
horrific.
amount of trash back there is horrible. Yeah. And the irony, how do they get it back there? I don't know how they get it back there, because as you said, if you look at the high tension lines, they have cables. If you look at there's stumps and there's cables. How are they just make another path? So.
Yeah, so again, that's really my ask, is if you're talking with those guys and just know that those other conversations are happening. If you have ideas on how our little local effort can be more impactful, we're all about it. We have the muscle, we have the like-mindedness, and we have the people that want to utilize that for what it should be utilized for, and not the other bad things that are happening back there. I'm all for it. I've sort of taken it on as my pet project, and so we're happy with the progress we made. This is just a copy of hey, we budget $10,000 a year for this, and proof. So Joe Berg has everything I'm giving you guys. And this is just, here's what we did, just a slight look at the impact we had in March. And then this is some of what we're hoping to tackle in 2 weeks, so.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Sapp.
Thank you.
Chief, Denise wants you.
I want her energy.
I needed you.
I'm going to be tied up for a little bit, but I'll be outside here. I just want to grab my stuff in case you went into executive session.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Chief. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak?
Take a
Seeing
motion to
none,
close.
I have a motion to close.
Second?
Second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, this evening, we will be going into executive session. Will we be coming out and taking action?
Potentially, yes.
We have the potential to come back into public session and take action. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
I have a motion, second. All in
Sec-
favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ms. Martina,
Me too.
you ready? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn back into regular session.
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Link,
Second.
second by Mr. Cheek. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Ayes have it. We are now back in session.
On the agenda, we have a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding between the Township of Hamilton and Teamsters contract.
Okay, with that, committee, are there any additional questions, or I'll entertain a motion, please? I have a motion by Ms. Hopkins,
Second.
second by Mrs. Link. Rita, could I get a roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Ms. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
And Mayor Kane?
Yes, thank you.
All yes and carry.
This is a public hearing. I don't see anyone from the public present. I'll entertain a motion to close.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Hopkins, a second by Mrs. Link. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion
Wow, we got
adjourned,
over
whatever,
quick
something like
tonight.
that. One of those